Breaking news, President Trump is on the way to the hospital right now. Local COVID numbers place Norman in the moderate risk category once again. And what could the increase in cases mean for Fall Family Weekend? This is OU Nightly. Hello, thanks for watching OU Nightly. I'm Kayla Davis.
And I'm Chloe Sparks. We begin tonight with breaking news concerning President Trump. We are hearing right now that the president is being transported to Marine One to Walter Reed Hospital.
It was late last night that it was announced that the president and the First Lady both tested positive for COVID-19. Mary Maloney has the details.
First Lady in quarantine at the White House after contracting the coronavirus.
He's had mild symptoms, but he is hard at work. We're having to slow him down a little bit.
President Trump, who is in a high-risk category for serious complications, insisted in a tweet, "We will get through this together."
I'm optimistic that he'll have a very quick and speedy recovery.
Hours before he was diagnosed, the president downplayed the COVID-19 pandemic still ravaging the country.
I just want to say that the end of the pandemic is in sight.
Thursday, after his aide, Hope Hicks, tested positive for COVID-19, the president attended a private fundraiser in New Jersey. Wednesday, he held a Minnesota rally with minimal masks and little social distancing.
We will make America safe again.
Tuesday, the president shared the debate stage with Democratic nominee Joe Biden.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask.
Biden and his wife tested negative, as did his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, and Vice President Mike Pence and the Second Lady. But the president is now a patient and will temporarily withdraw from the campaign trail, all because of the coronavirus pandemic.
Gaylord College has students in Washington, D.C. this semester.
Emma Sears has been talking to the Oklahoma congressional delegation about this situation. Emma?
Okay, then is it me?
So sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone.
Political experts say the president's positive COVID tests could have negative effects on his campaign. OU Assistant Professor Rachel Blum says Trump will have a slow campaign until he's recovered. It could also strengthen Biden's stance on people's need to wear masks, since so far Biden and his wife have both tested negative.
Him and Trump even had a little tip on stage about COVID and wearing masks. After the debate, Trump's family and campaign came up without masks on. Jill Biden comes up with a mask on. So if Joe does not have COVID and Trump does, it does strengthen Biden's appeal on the COVID issue, I think, to a lot of Americans.
Will be the ones most swayed by the president's positive test.
The Oklahoma State Health Department reports 1,190 new cases today. The total number of active cases in the state is now 12,762. There are also 9 new deaths reported today, bringing the death toll in Oklahoma to 1,044.
And Norman has the third most cases in the state with 3,401, with 49 new cases reported yesterday. The OU COVID dashboard is a day behind city and state numbers. And as of October 1st, there are 260 students or staff in isolation or quarantine. 52 of those are due to current positive cases, and the rest are people who have been directly exposed to COVID. And the city of Norman is being sued over its new extended mask ordinance. Unite Norman, a group first formed in an effort to recall several city officials, filed the lawsuit yesterday. They say that the addition to the Norman mask ordinance violates Oklahoma's constitutional right to due process. The ordinance states that residents must wear masks when in social gatherings of more than 25 people on both public and private property. The city of Norman says it has the ability to pass the ordinance in order to protect Norman citizens.
violating either the state or federal constitution with regard to that ordinance.
Proponents of the policy say it allows the Norman Police Department to enforce the mask policy at large parties held in residential yards where few people are wearing masks. A hearing for the lawsuit is November 2nd.
Fall Family Weekend is starting today. The annual event is put on by the Campus Activities Council. Lindsey Gibbs is here to tell us about COVID concerns over the weekend.
Good afternoon, Chloe and Kayla. Fall Family Weekend is just getting started, and now there are many parents arriving to campus, and there are concerns that COVID-19 will spread over the weekend. I got to speak to an OU student about steps she's taking to prevent an outbreak.
I'll have our mask on. We're getting tested before they show up just to make sure I'm not exposing them. But
in light of COVID-19, this weekend we'll see some major changes, including many events being held over Zoom.
And then we also are just going to kind of take in the campus as best that we can. Obviously, with everything going on with COVID, things are, obviously locked down, wearing masks. But it's going to be a beautiful weekend and just spending time with her.
There will be limited in-person events this weekend, and the Campus Activities Council plans to have a parents' reception tonight at the Union. And Saturday, there will be a football game watch party at the Walker and Adams residential centers. Now, the CAC is asking all parents and students to follow OU's masking policies and social distancing guidelines. Reporting live from South Oval, Lindsey Gibbs, OU Nightly.
Thanks, Lindsey. Speaking of fall, the colors of the leaves have started to change.
And the temperatures are starting to get cooler too. Nash Rhodes has the forecast as fall begins.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you stepped out the door this morning, you probably noticed temperatures were really cold. I mean, they were down in the 60s and 50s, depending on when you stepped out the door this morning. Right now, we're just getting into the 70s here in Norman and Oklahoma City, topping off at 70 degrees right now. Guyman as warm as 79 degrees further to our north and west. But all this is going to change over this weekend as we are tracking a developing front further to our north. And I'll let you know coming around the corner just what this means for our weekend forecast. And I'll also have a game day forecast as OU travels out to Ames on Saturday. Guys?
The grand jury may have already made their decision. However, there is more information on the Brianna Taylor case.
Kentucky's Attorney General released the information this morning. Haley Weger will explain when we return.
And the wildfires on the West Coast don't seem to be slowing down anytime soon.
Firefighters are doing their best to contain the fires. We'll have more on this when we come back.
Released this morning regarding Brianna Taylor's case. Haley Weger has more on this and other national stories in the News Center. Haley?
Thanks, Chloe. New body camera footage was released from the botched raid causing Brianna Taylor's death. Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron requested to hold off releasing the grand jury videos until this morning. The videos show that the police involved announced themselves more than once before forcing their way into the apartment. Cameron says that he is confident that once the public listens to the recordings, they will see that his team presented a thorough case to the Jefferson County grand jury. 3.8 million people are unemployed, and many are realizing this is no longer a temporary job loss. Businesses are firing workers and shutting down to save money. Some of the companies with the highest layoffs are Disney, Allstate, and Raytheon. With an additional 661,000 jobs created in September, people expected the unemployment rate to continue to drop, but this hasn't been the case. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports a 7.9% unemployment rate. This is the highest unemployment rate before a presidential election since 1948. And over 2 months later, the California wildfires are not slowing down. Luckily, firefighters have been able to contain 2 of the devastating fires, but 2 others to continue to rage through the state. The Glass Fire and Zog Fire have burned over 100,000 acres of Northern California combined. 2020 is the worst year in the state's history in terms of acres burned. California is expected to see strong winds and high temperatures this weekend, which does not provide much hope for the state. And President Trump is being treated with the antibody cocktail today. We'll have more updates on him later in the show. Back to you, Chloe and Kayla.
Thank you, Haley. Lake Dirty Bird could be in need of a new nickname after this weekend.
Norman is set to host a cleanup event for Lake Thunderbird this Sunday. More on this after the break.
And Nash has more with the weather.
Tomorrow, perhaps a chance of rain. I'll have all of that and more coming right up. Beautiful Friday afternoon thus far as we take a look at our Oklahoma City tower camera. We do have nothing but clear skies out there, and current temperatures are just creeping into the 70s as we speak. Right now here in Oklahoma City, 70 degrees with those dew points in the upper 30s, making it feel just a little bit moist out there, but not enough for you to feel like it's humid outside. And really across the entire region, we are still dealing with these fairly cool temperatures. 70s here in Norman and Oklahoma City, Guyman up to 79 degrees further to our north and west. However, compared to just 24 hours ago, notice these areas to our south and east are much cooler than we were this time yesterday. 4 to 5 degrees cooler to be exact. Ardmore, the coolest of the bunch there with Muskogee at 5 degrees below where they were just 24 hours ago. We're going to keep this cool trend into overnight tonight. So we take a look at our lows. They should drop into the 50s, and with those winds out of the south-southeast at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, it will feel even cooler than this. So make sure if you're heading out the door tonight, if you stay out fairly late, be sure to pack a jacket because it is going to be really cold. Tomorrow afternoon, though, we will get back up into the 70s. Some of us down in the south will get into the 80s like Lawton and Ardmore, but notice further to the north and west, places like Guyman are much cooler, and that's because we do have our next weather maker knocking on the door. This is a cold front that is going to be entering our state out of the north and west and really make its way to our doorstep as early as 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon and into the evening hours. We'll see this cloud cover build as it does make its way through, and also see a few pop-up scattered showers and thunderstorms Saturday night into early Sunday morning. However, most of those will stay below severe criteria. Really just some localized flooding, perhaps some lightning, and even some gusty winds with a few of these pop-up showers and thunderstorms, but really across the board they should stay well below that severe criteria. The overall trend in that 7-day forecast is once this front moves through, we're going to slowly climb into the 80s, topping off at 85 on Wednesday and Thursday.
Norman is hoping to change the public opinion of what has long been known as Lake Dirty Bird. A 3-part watershed cleanup event begins this Sunday at Crestland Park in East Norman.
The city will provide all the necessary tools and they'll be giving out masks. The volunteer teams, based on the household groups, compete to haul in the most garbage.
That's all the time we have for news today, but stick around. It's time for Big Friday Sports.
The Sooners are coming off a hard-to-watch loss to Kansas State. Can they bounce back in this weekend's matchup against Iowa State? Dylan Rivera will tell us.
Today on Big Friday Sports, we preview NBA Finals Game 2, some MLB playoff matchups, and the NFL. But first, we'll take a deeper look into the Sooners matchup with the Iowa State Cyclones following the heartbreaking loss to Kansas State. Don't go anywhere. Big Friday Sports is straight ahead. You're taking a look at the buses leaving Owen Field to head north to Iowa for tomorrow's matchup against Iowa State. And Sofia, there were noticeably more buses headed down Asp Avenue.
Yeah, actually, I was outside watching the boys leave, and I counted 7 buses. Inside, they were all socially distanced, wearing masks and face shields. Gotta say safety first. I really love to see it.
Hello, everyone, and congrats on making it to Friday. Your reward, Big Friday Sports. I'm Dylan Rivera.
And I'm Sofia Olivas, and I think I can speak for the both of us when I say this weekend in Ames is a must-win.
I think anyone around OU football looks at this week's matchup as a must-win. The Sooners haven't lost 2 straight regular season games since 1999. Sooner H-back Jeremiah Hall says the ISU defense has their attention.
They know their defense, and they stick to what their coaches tell them. You know, they fly to the football, and they're pretty good. So we'll prepare for them every single year, and we know what we're going to get, and we're going to go out there and execute our jobs on Saturday.
Over to the Game Day U team and see what they have to say.
What is up, Big Friday Friday Sports. It's your Game Day U crew out here on the South Oval. I'm Caroline Gray.
Stepping away from the football team, it's still a very busy weekend in OU athletics. Women's tennis and men's golf are playing throughout the weekend at the TCU Invitational and the Big 12 Match Play Championship, respectively.
Tonight, OU soccer has their first home match of the season as they take on Texas Tech, the Red Raiders. And finally, the cross-country team will head to Stillwater tomorrow for the Cowboy Jamboree. And when Big Friday Sports returns, Nash Rhodes will have a look at your game day forecast.
And we'll be getting into the nitty-gritty of this NFL weekend. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. For those of you planning on making the trip up to Ames to hopefully watch OU avenge its previous week's loss, we are looking at some interesting weather. Temperatures will be in the lower 50s at kickoff and quickly drop down into the 40s for the second half of the game. One thing I also want you to keep an eye on are those rain chances. We'll have about a 20% chance of rain throughout the entire game. Again, those on and off showers should not be severe, or we shouldn't see any chances of any thunderstorms throughout the game as well. Otherwise, cloudy skies, those winds out of the south at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Guys?
Thanks, Nash. And well, last night saw the fight starting off the season 4-0. The Broncos and Jets squared off to New Jersey to see who could start their climb out of the hole. The Jets struck first after QB Sam Darnold escaped the blitz and avoided the sack and just kept on running, putting the Jets up 7-0.
Well, striking first doesn't always mean you win it. The Broncos outscored the Jets from the second quarter on and won it 37-28. And there's still a busy slate of NFL games this weekend, despite one being postponed.
And we'll have more on that postponement here in a moment. But for now, here are the games that we think that you should tune into for Week 4.
2 years ago, Brady and the Pats snuck out a win in Arrowhead in overtime over my Chiefs. And they went on to win the Super Bowl over the Rams. Fast forward to today, Brady's gone, Gronk is gone, and Patrick Mahomes is a Super Bowl winner and MVP and the 4th best player in the NFL. It's a new face at quarterback for the Patriots. Cam Newton is under center, and he's off to a good start. The two playoff caliber teams from the AFC face off this Sunday at 3:25.
Well, I'm looking forward to an NFC-AFC matchup this weekend that might hold a lot of surprises. The 2-1 Browns are headed to the Big D to take on the 1-2 Cowboys. And while I'm not a Dallas fan, I am a Sooner fan. And I've got a feeling we'll be seeing CeeDee Lamb's first NFL TD. But I don't think that it'll be enough. Baker Mayfield and the Browns have won 2 in a row, and I see them winning a 3rd. You can catch this potentially high-scoring game Sunday at noon.
I'd say you probably just set yourself up for another disappointment aside from your Steelers-Titans game.
What, do you got the Cowboys on this one?
I do. I'm taking the boys, but let's talk about the latest with the Tennessee Titans. The most recent numbers show Tennessee have 13 positive cases, including players and staff.
This outbreak became the first in the NFL, who many saw just as inevitable. This last season matchup, this season, we'll see them squaring off in Week 7.
Well, it's time for our weekly fantasy picks, Sofia, and I am once again advocating for a rookie. This time I'm taking Jags running back James Robinson. Robinson has filled the shoes of Fournette, and so far this season has been a fantasy steal. Averaging nearly 18 touches per game, Robinson is ranked the 6th highest scoring running back in fantasy, and this week against a weak Bengals D, he should put up some good numbers.
Well, I'm going to keep it with a familiar face on the offensive side, Baltimore Ravens tight end Mark Andrews. And while he hasn't been quite as productive as originally expected, I see him having a good week against Washington, whose defense is allowing the 5th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. I'd pick him as a starter, and I'd expect him to pick up some points if he and Lamar Jackson can get into a rhythm early.
Game 1 was ugly. It looked like the Monstars versus the Toon Squad out there for a bit. It was 93-67 through the first 3 quarters.
Well, tonight Miami has the chance to redeem themselves and get this. Heat up the series. The Heat go tonight to win 2 with 2 majors listed as doubtful. 2 major players listed as doubtful, NBA All-Star Bam Adebayo with a neck strain that will keep him out, and Goran Dragic is dealing with issues in his foot.
Meanwhile, the LeBron-AD tandem looks nearly unstoppable and could barrel through to another win. Tip-off tonight is set for 8 p.m. Well, and that's all we have for Big Friday Sports. Thank you for joining us here on OU Nightly. We'll be here next Friday, same time, same place.